So we've been saying on the show for a very long time that local politics is important.
It is.
You know, we talk a lot about national politics, but state and local politics, very important to your life.
It goes under the radar and has way more of an actual material effect on you.
So I want the listeners, and I want you to think, stop for a second, think, what comes to mind when you think of a city council? What kinds of decisions, what kinds of participation, what kinds of engagement with the community come to mind?
Those fucking videos of people going and just trolling people at city council meetings. Not gonna lie.
For the purpose of this story, I want you to think a unilateral withdrawal of public resources. So I went to a local city council meeting a week ago, right?
You did?
Yeah, I did.
God,
They were deliberating taking away the public transportation system in the city.
Oh.
Which voters had consistently voted through a millage, which happens during elections, to keep around like 75% to 25% for the last like decade.
Okay.
They voted every single time, every 4 years, to keep the millage alive. In 2022 was going to be the next election for where they would vote on the millage again to see if it'd be approved, and it was going to be because people like public transit. It's good for people, helps the community, lets people get to work, lets people travel to like Detroit, Pontiac, etc. You get the idea. So tell me why 25 people are at the city council meeting. The city council room, the city hall is full. 25 people are speaking. Every single person that spoke for public transit. They wanted to keep it around. They said, I don't mind using my tax dollars for this. It helps me get around. I'm an old person. I need the buses.
Yeah.
I need to be able to travel. Everyone likes this service. Even if I don't use it personally, it's important, right? And, you know, the city I was in, Auburn Hills, has a university. Yeah. And it's important. It has actually several universities, several community colleges. It's important for students to get around. They don't have cars. You know, you don't want to make it so you're forced to buy a car to get around.
And, you know, they're extorted for parking passes.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell me why every single person is supporting public transit at this meeting, and they vote 5-2 to eliminate it.
It's almost like they really don't give a shit about what their, like, constituents have to say.
Bro, somebody got up there, did the math. He said, like, I'm a financier. Like, I like deal with finances. I've done it for like the past 10 years of my life, or whatever, like as a job. He said, I did the math. I paid $2 a month in my taxes to keep this program alive. $2 a month. He said, I don't care about $2 a month if it means everyone can have access to public
transit that a lot of people rely on, like, strictly.
Right. So after like the 25 people spoke in support of public transit, the council had a chance to speak to the crowd, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, the people that were supporting it, the two that voted to keep public transit around, they were like, yeah, we support this. We got to keep it, blah, blah, blah. And then the people that didn't support it is this like 90-year-old guy, right?
Of course.
And he's like, everything you've said makes sense from your perspective.
You're lying. You're lying.
Just gaslit the entire room. Bro gaslit the entire room. Tell me why someone that was born before the passage of the Civil Rights Act is telling us what makes sense.
Literally, dog. Literally. Dude, no, I don't understand. It reminds me of that one video that goes around every once in a while of, I think it was a city council voting on whether or not they'd let fracking happen.
Yeah.
And it's a farmer who said, at the last meeting, you said you'd drink water from a fracking site. And he brought water from a fracking site. And he's like, drink it right here, right now. And he's like, I think I'll abstain from that.
Yeah.
I feel like city council politics are so fucking reactionary for absolutely like no reason.
Doesn't make sense.
It's wild. They're not being like financially backed by these crazy institutions like the Cato Institute or whatever, like you see at the national level. Yeah. They are just bigoted.
They're just bad people.
They are just hyper reactionaries who are hoping to like maybe use this as a springboard to get into the actual Republican Party.
And you know what they're going to replace the public transit system with? They're going to replace it with the system that only functions for elderly and disabled people, and it's going to be woefully underfunded.
Yeah, no, they're going to replace it with a new boring company tunnel, a new Hyperloop in the city.
They're going to commission Tesla to come build one. You know, but like one of the other guys on the council, who's also like 65 or something years old, is like, yeah, this is a real dilemma. This is like a real dilemma.
Not. It really is.
And it's like, dog, fuck off. Like, you're trying to take away people's ability to travel throughout your city?
Yeah. Like, what the fuck is the point?
There's no like.
What are you trying to like do? How are you trying? Are you trying to save the city money somehow?
People said they
gives
didn't care.
A shit. They overwhelmingly support it.
People said they didn't care. It's just, it goes to show you that most of the decisions being made are being made by people that will never have to live with the consequences because they will quite literally die in a couple of years.
Yeah.
They are making decisions that they will never have to bear the fruit of. But everyone else will have to deal with it. All the working class people in the city will have to deal with it. And this is the kind of thing that's happening around the country.
Exactly.
And not just with like city council decisions, but school boards especially, just insanely reactionary, like banning books and stuff, making it so you don't learn about the Civil Rights Act, Martin Luther King. Like, it's bad.
It's bad. It's real bad out here.
Pay attention to local politics, people. Pay attention to it. It's important.
It's very important.
It's important.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. The cold open, pretty local, but I think you'll see the focus this episode. Pretty global.
Pretty global.
There's a lot of events that were sort of going on this week. I'm sure you know exactly what we're talking about. It's the Russia-Ukraine Hour. Welcome back to the #1 geopolitics podcast.
Yeah, welcome back. You know, we like to balance our local politics with global politics, a little bit yin and yang, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
We got to balance it. Both bad. Equally, well, not equally bad, but pretty bad, both of them.
True.
I mean, like, you know, in proportion, pretty bad.
Exactly.
But we got to balance it out. But welcome back to the show, everybody. I hope you're ready for an absolutely loaded episode. There's so much happening this week.
Absolutely insane episode. Angry episode.
Angry.
The fucking takes that have been going around the internet are wild. The online left has taken a massive PR hit in our eyes. We'll get to it. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, it's really not good. It's bad.
It's just bad.
If you want to tune out now, it's bad. That's all you need to know. It's not good. Lots of putrid news, you know, last week. And I can't believe, like, we'll get into this obviously after the intro here, but everything popped off on Thursday.
I know.
A day after our episode came out.
God.
So that's why last week's episode did not include anything on Russia, Ukraine, because we record on Sundays, and we'll get to that as well. But, like, yeah, we're here now, covering it now.
You know how it is.
Hopefully we're getting your news. But anyway, before we get started, make sure you check out the Patreon, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all of it, all the socials.
You know what to do.
Give us some support, become a patron, get access to early episodes.
Leave a smooth 5-star review on Apple.
Exactly.
Kind of like these 3 people that we're going to read out right now.
We do got 3 5-star reviews to read right now. So please support the show. Go to Apple, leave a 5-star review. We got almost like 50 now. Isn't that crazy?
That is actually kind of crazy. I think it's like 50. 48 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Amazing.
Y'all are supporting the show and making this possible.
Exactly.
Just like we're supporting you and giving you the content. But let's read these reviews.
Okay.
So first 5-star review, subject line, witty, hilarious, and informative by Tinder user 989. They say, definitely have to check this out. I found this podcast and I've binged several episodes already. Jeremy and Gage cover a variety of relevant issues through a critical and honest lens without being overly serious. You know us.
What can we say?
You know us. As a full-time student, I'm stressed enough, but this podcast allows me to hear about issues I care about without being totally depressed. One of the best leftist podcasts out there. Keep it up, guys.
What can we say? There's plenty of people who just hammer you full of just the bad news, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's kind of us.
That's kind of us, but we try to be funny sometimes. We try.
I'm surprised that, like, the stuff we talk about isn't too depressing. There's lots to be depressed about in the world.
Thanks.
I'm glad we can deliver it in a humorous way. Next one is Based Bros by Ash Fairblood. They say, found them on TikTok and just started binging. Such great takes and an actual understanding of the issues while providing great comedic commentary. And I love that they are anti-capitalist without having such a hate boner like most leftists. 15 out of 10, highly recommended.
Oh God, we're gonna be, today's episode is gonna be full of shitting on leftists who have hate boners for things.
Yeah,
specifically
or love
leftists,
boners for war.
Yeah, specifically leftists who have hate boners for the U.S. just for no reason. Well, for reason, but just cannot apply that critically to any fucking situation.
Don't glamorize death, people.
No,
don't
literally.
Glamorize death. All right, last one here is Leftist Pundits for Your Podcussy by Dan Static. They say quality takes from some folks who haven't given up on hope for the future. They got jokes to go along with their wit and wisdom. P.S. Tucker is wrong. The most doable candy mascot is the Skittles Rainbow.
Let's
go. Bro, facts.
Hey, bro.
Facts.
We don't kink shame.
Don't diss on Green M&M, though.
Facts.
Do not diss on Green M&M.
No, do not diss on those go-go boots.
And I will not be issuing an apology for that. Anyways, let's get right into the news coverage. We got a lot to talk about today. Thanks. Starting off with the Russia-Ukraine conflict. War is bad, people.
War is very bad.
War is bad.
Like,
keep that in mind.
Like, to start it off light, I just wanted to get into something like an observation that I've made. Just me out here observing the world.
Naturally.
When I hop on TikTok every morning to delay my responsibilities. So I think it was Thursday morning. Thursday morning when everything popped off, because it popped off Wednesday night, right?
Yeah.
I open up my phone, I open up TikTok to just 7 straight videos of just war. Just TikTok, just war on TikTok right there.
Learn about war on a dancing app.
That was fucking wild, but I could have predicted that. What I never could have reasonably predicted are the amount of like war edits that I saw and like war power scaling that I saw. It's like the motherfuckers from the anime community. You know, the people who make those hype like Demon Slayer edits, like up the animation to 60 FPS, put up like Love Sosa behind it, and it's going crazy. I saw that just for war.
Oh my god.
Like, I saw one video where people literally started power scaling NATO versus Russia. And it was just like troop numbers. Bam, NATO has this many, Russia has this many.
My god.
Beat drops, Russia has this many planes, NATO has this many planes. Another fucking beat drop, and it's like
it's
like comethazine. It's like comethazine in the background and 3 million likes. They're just popping off. I never could have predicted that. I almost broke my neck from the whiplash that morning.
Or it's like have you ever seen those videos of like it's like tournaments of MCU characters? It'll be like Spider-Man versus Thor, and they'd be like strength, Thor, agility, Spider-Man. Like that's what it is.
That's literally what it was. It's like the anime and comic people decided, let's get into geopolitics.
Hey, bro,
this is a new realm we can break into.
At least they're spreading awareness.
I fucking guess.
Anyways, I want to issue a bit of like a disclaimer here before we start.
Yeah.
We do record 3 days early, so a lot is likely to change before this airs for the majority of people that listen to this. So just keep that in mind. We're 3 days before.
Popping off like
daily.
Actively like as we speak. So much shit happened yesterday, constantly having to like amend the show notes.
Yeah,
you know?
Stuff happened this morning while I was eating breakfast.
Yeah, no
that
facts.
I had to take a look at
stuff
before we got
happened
on here.
right before we recorded.
Yeah, exactly. And we're not only going to cover what's happened in Ukraine and Russia, but we'll also go over a lot of the takes from like elected officials and political pundits because they've been bad, and I think that's been kind of ignored recently. So I think we need to go over that too. But to get into what's been happening in Ukraine, last week Russia began its invasion after claiming that the Donbas region, which is to the eastern side of Ukraine, right next to Russia, the Kremlin said that Donbas is an independent state. And right after that, they entered into a military alliance with the newly declared state, saying we will defend them at all costs.
Which you can't do.
You
cannot do that.
You can't. You can't just do that.
Like, you literally can't do that. Imagine if, I don't know, Texas said, actually, we don't really want to be a part of the U.S. anymore, but they don't go through any of the actual secession processes. Greg Abbott just says it one time, and China goes, hey, man, we recognize your independence, and we're putting troops in.
Exactly.
That's an insane thing to do.
Can't do that. And like if you're not really aware of like Ukrainian geography, just think of Donbas as like an area in Ukraine, and then the two like states or provinces within that region are Donetsk and Luhansk. And those are the two regions that Russia was like, these are independent states now. There's ethnic Russians here, and we're going to come and defend them.
We're going to do peacekeeping operations here.
That's what they called it. They called it peacekeeping operations, which is just a fucking
That's
joke.
what they called it, and that's what former President Donald Trump also called it.
We'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. And then, so this exactly was Putin's pretext for war that he was looking for. He needed a reason to invade Ukraine, even if everybody could see directly through those lies.
Yeah.
He needed a reason to invade Ukraine that he could just spout to the international community. And he specifically said that the separatists were at risk of genocide from Ukrainian Nazis, and that Russia had to defend, native Russian speakers.
It's crazy because that region of Ukraine has been at civil war with Ukraine for 8 years.
Yeah.
Since Crimea. And Russia has been funding the opposition to Ukraine.
Yeah.
They've literally been engaged in a proxy war there.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, Putin. I don't know.
Yeah. Putin cited specifically that he wanted to denazify and demilitarize Ukraine, which is really funny because President Zelensky of Ukraine is Jewish. And also, Russia has the second biggest military in the world. So I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Also, the Russian government is just full of Nazis.
Literally just fascist.
Yeah.
Literally just straight up authoritarian.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of goofy. It's a
very
little goofy for him to ever say denazification.
No, facts.
And then, so strangely enough, Russia didn't only invade the Donbas region.
Okay.
He also invaded regions to the north and to the south of Ukraine.
Oh my God, who would have thought?
Yeah.
Oh my God, crazy how he literally launched an all-sides attack like he stationed troops to do.
Yeah. So I know we've talked about this before, but Belarus is right next to Ukraine. Belarus is very close to Russia. They are like good allies. So Russia had troops in Belarus. And then, of course, they took Crimea, which is like a kind of like an island or peninsula to the south of Ukraine. So they already had that area too. So they're basically hitting it. They're hitting it from the south, the north, and the east.
Yeah.
So it's not great.
It's really not great.
It's not great at all.
No, not at all. And it's like just back to the fucking denazification thing. This is something some people on the online left have just absolutely sunk their fucking teeth into in defense of Russia. And I think that is absolutely insane. A lot of people are treating this occupation as if it is just because they have the Azov battalion, which is like 400 fucking people, and less than 1% of their parliament is represented by their like far right Nazi party. Dog, we literally have Nazis in our government.
I was going to say, we have half our Congress represented by Nazis.
Yeah, Paul Gosar and Marjorie Taylor Greene were literally at the America First Political Action Conference hosted by Nick Fuentes, a literal fucking Nazi.
A devout Nazi.
We have many Nazi militias here in the United States. Is that pretext for any other authoritarian country to come invade us?
Right. Should Russia invade?
No, it's not. Is it a good thing that Ukraine maybe has those people? Definitely not. Not at all.
No.
But should we let the fucking regular people, the innocent civilians, just suffer war because of it? Absolutely fucking not.
Also, it's a false pretext. It's like it's not a real reason.
Oh yeah.
Like Russia doesn't give a fuck about Nazis anymore. Like they don't care about denazification. Half of them are Nazis.
No, they really don't. And it's that same logic that has been so baffling coming out of the online left this week, because like that logic would further justify occupation of Afghanistan. It would further justify us saying like, oh, the Taliban, they're bad.
Yeah, they're far right.
They're far right.
About as far right as you can get.
They don't do very good things. So then we should invade again. We should go back into Afghanistan and continue the invasion. But no, every leftist wanted out of Afghanistan, obviously, because it's the right fucking thing to do. We should not be there as an imperial power.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous. So let's back up a little bit to Russia's original demand, which was that NATO's expansion eastward would stop, because what Russia was really concerned about was that NATO was going to have a lot more power over formerly USSR nations. And if you know anything about Russia's western border, is that it's just a plain. Yeah. Like it's just flat land. So it's very easy to move military equipment across, especially during the winter when the ground is frozen. And Russia's been concerned about this. That's why it's been hard to defend. That's why Russia's been invaded so many times throughout history. It's because it's just very easy to do that. So they wanted Ukraine to be barred from ever entering into the NATO alliance, which was one of the main contentions for this conflict.
Yeah.
And also, just to note, like NATO is a military alliance that was basically founded on being anti-USSR. So they're just the anti-Russia club.
Yeah.
And NATO sucks.
Guys, yeah.
Terrible organization.
NATO bad. Russia way worse right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like NATO being bad is completely besides the point.
Exactly.
Like a country joining into a military alliance that is founded to be anti-you is not reason to invade and kill civilians and children. Like that's
just because you're being bullied doesn't mean you can't go kill people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And also Russia, another thing that they wanted was for all troops and armaments to be kicked out of Ukraine, or not Ukraine, Ukraine and also NATO countries around Russia. So like the Baltic states, Finland. Oh, Finland's not in NATO yet. Maybe will be soon. But all the NATO countries around Russia wanted all the armaments out. So they're basically just trying to secure their safety, but like on a false pretext. You know what I mean? Like no one's going to invade Russia.
But also they came out and said that they will invade Sweden, or there will be massive consequences if Sweden and Finland join NATO. And yesterday, Saturday night at like fucking midnight or some shit, Finland's parliament got the necessary votes to join NATO. And they're now moving it into like parliament to discuss actually joining NATO, which is so like cool. Wild, which is absolutely wild, because Russia is doing all this under the false pretense, again, that NATO countries are going to surround them, yet they're giving the surrounding countries more reason to join NATO.
Yeah, all the people that have been blaming NATO for everything that's happened are justifying Putin invading countries, which just makes countries want to join NATO more.
Exactly.
It gives them more of a reason to join NATO because they're afraid that Russia's breathing down their neck. You remember that meme from Ukraine like months ago where they were like types of headaches? And
living next to Russia?
Exactly. God. Like nobody wants to live next to Russia and have no military protection because they're afraid of Russian invasions, because they've been doing it for the last several decades.
Because Russia is authoritarian. They are also fascist.
Pretty bad.
They literally just will annex you.
Yeah. And I want to make it very clear to anybody listening, especially like the leftists that have had brain dead takes on this issue. NATO cannot be blamed for this.
No.
Because that's like saying like say I like kidnap two people, right?
Yeah.
They're friends. I have a gun to one of their heads and I'm like, you have to literally give me $1 trillion or I'm going to shoot your friend. And then I shoot their friend and be like, why didn't you, like, this is your fault.
Yeah, come on.
Like, I can't openly attack somebody and then blame it on somebody else for not stopping me. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how this works.
Like, I can give like charitability to somebody saying that NATO expansion eastward has made Russia worried, but that's it. Russia can just be worried about it.
Yes,
because Russia has also been horrible throughout their life.
Yes.
Like, throughout their life as a country, they have also been very bad.
Yeah.
They're also a fucking imperial power. I've seen people try to justify it talking about America's imperialism, which is bad.
Yep.
But it's also like America has far more resources than Russia. If Russia had the resources we had, they'd be doing the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
That's what most global powers are doing with the resources that we have.
Oh, yeah.
The same fucking thing.
It would just be economic imperialism rather than straight up military imperialism.
I mean, considering their actions right now, maybe it would just be military imperialism. Maybe they would just fucking invade.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see all of this unfold because, like, if there ever was still a Cold War happening, it's done. You know what I mean? Like, this is a hot war now.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But let's talk about how the invasion has been progressing as of today, which is the 27th of February. So keep that in mind. Going back even a little bit, Russia already took Crimea, as we said, back in 2014, and so far they have taken the region, like half of the Donbass region to the east, and they've also taken some regions to the north, including the Chernobyl nuclear power plant.
Surprisingly,
which is where that disaster happened like a decade ago or whatever.
Yeah, which was honestly kind of wild to see. Like, how the fuck are they fighting in Chernobyl? Like, excuse me for being dumb.
I think a lot of the radiation's gone away.
For
like,
real?
I think I don't know anything about chemistry.
Yeah,
but
no, excuse me for being dumb.
Like, I think like nuclear atoms have like it's something about half-life.
Yeah.
You know, like the radiation element goes away after a while.
It's
it,
like
dissipates.
I think it's like every 10 days.
Yeah.
It like 50% of the radiation goes away.
And it's not like a nuclear bomb went off there.
That's facts.
Unless it's the same thing. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything about this, but they've taken Chernobyl, or at least have been around Chernobyl, and there's also been worries that like they would like release nuclear waste, which would be bad.
I had seen that there were reports that they might have accidentally hit a nuclear waste like storage facility. They didn't, thank God, but they almost did.
And also Russia has been shelling Kyiv for the past few days at this point, with plans to invade and take the capital. I don't know if they've done it by now yet.
Not yet.
I think they've just been shelling and dropping bombs and stuff on
Somehow
Kyiv.
They haven't, though.
Yeah.
They've surprisingly, as of now, haven't taken any major cities yet.
Yeah.
They were in the process of taking major cities, but they have not fully taken and controlled any major cities. They've failed to establish air superiority over like all of Ukraine, which is fucking insane.
Ghost of Kyiv.
Ghost of Kyiv. Shout out.
But Kyiv, if you don't know, is the capital of Ukraine, and I also know that they were getting close to Odessa, which is in the south.
Yeah.
Which is another major city in Ukraine, and then there's Lviv, which is pretty far to the west,
and then
closer
they're
to
fighting
Poland.
in like Kharkov too.
Yeah. So they're trying to get there, but Ukraine's been doing surprisingly well. Like the Ukrainian people have been fighting back pretty hard, like to a degree that I don't think really anybody expected. And a few days ago, which is kind of a crazy move, President Vladimir Zelensky did two things.
Yeah.
One, he said that all men 18 to 60 have to stay.
Which is fucking insane.
Which is crazy.
Like, that's actually, I fucking hate that, dude. I don't
like
understand, like, the concept of a draft I think is fucking stupid in general, because, like, you're just sending people to their death. Wars are always rich man wars anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, you're just getting people who can't fight. You're making them fucking stay.
Yeah.
You're making them
Universal
stay. You're
draft.
just making them fucking die.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty much what's going on here.
At the very least, though, I guess morale in Ukraine is pretty high. Like,
morale, it is high.
People are very committed to defending Ukraine. President Zelensky also denied evacuation with the U.S. military, or with just U.S. aid.
For himself.
For himself, yeah. He was offered evacuation from the U.S. President Zelensky said, no, I'm going to stay. I think his line was like, I need ammunition, not a ride, which is pretty hard.
That is hard. It's pretty doggish.
Bro's going to be a war hero.
If you are going to institute a universal draft, which is fucking horrible and something I hate, at least he's not exempting himself.
Exactly. And I know a lot of other Ukrainian politicians are also staying to fight, which is good.
Like his whole parliament did, or like his like cabinet or whatever the fuck they have in Ukraine, all stayed and is fighting.
So it's pretty cool. And apparently President Zelensky's just like with the troops on the front lines. Like, I mean, he's going to be a war hero.
A fucking dog.
Like he's going to be martyred. Like hopefully he doesn't die, but if it does happen that he dies, like a Russian soldier kills him, bombs kill him, whatever, he will be martyred.
And it's like
he will be a hero.
It's
forever.
insane considering that this dude like played the president of Ukraine on a fucking comedy TV show.
Yeah,
that's like where he started. And then
he was an actor.
As a joke, people were like, "You should run for president," and then he did and won in a fucking landslide.
Yeah,
like that. That is actually insane.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And it's also another thing that's happening, like at least like the Ukrainian TV, they've been broadcasting videos about how to make Molotov cocktails.
Yeah.
Like to every TV station.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's wild.
And I've seen like in Kyiv, there's been lots of groups that have just gotten together with a bunch of resources, just all crafting Molotov cocktails together. That's wild.
No, for real. The Ukrainian spirit has just been insane.
There,
they've been roughing it out.
Fighting for their country, yeah. So as of February 26th, which is yesterday for us, Saturday, I read that about 200 people have died. 200 Ukrainians have died in fighting. And about 1,200 people have been injured on the Ukrainian side, which include some number of children, too, which is fucking terrible. But I also know that Ukrainians have done a really good job pushing back Russian forces and destroying Russian armaments and aircraft and stuff like that, like to an amazing degree.
As of yesterday, they also captured a Russian major, which is the second highest field rank. That's insane.
Yeah.
Russian like morale for their soldiers has just been down, and it's been a sad thing to see how many Russian soldiers just do not want to be there.
Yeah.
It's fucking wild.
And all the protests happening in Russia too.
Yeah, like it's not necessarily the Russian people, guys. We got to remember that Russia, incredibly authoritarian. Putin did not win his elections democratically.
No, he just stole it. I mean, he's been in power for 25 years.
He literally poisons opposition leaders.
Yeah.
Like, he literally will just kill people. He was an ex-KGB fucking spy master. Like, a decorated KGB guy.
Not a good person.
Bad dude. Bad fucking dude. His government, bad people. Have you seen the video of his, I don't know who it is, somebody in his cabinet or parliament or whatever, talking about what they did to the Donbass region? And he's like, yeah, I support full annexation. And Putin like got up in his chair and he looked at him. He's like, annexation? That was never on the table. What are you talking about? No, we just want to send troops in there. We just want peacekeeping operations. We're just recognizing their independence. And the dude looked scared shitless.
Yeah, he's probably going to die.
His own cabinet's fucking scared of him. It's not the Russian people. The Russian people don't want war either. It's not good for them. They don't want these sanctions that are coming after them. It's not good for them.
Yeah, there's been massive protests, I know, and at least Moscow, but I'm sure other major Russian cities as well. And a lot of protesters have just been jailed immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Just tossed in jail, arrested.
Yeah.
So, like, Russians are standing up to this. Those that don't want war in Russia are standing up to this. Ukrainians are standing up to this. Every major Western nation is standing up to this. So it's been a good response.
Yeah.
It's made Russia's life a lot more difficult, but they're still going to keep pushing, I would imagine.
No, for sure.
As of this morning, actually, The Hill reported that Zelensky is considering going to peace talks on the border of Ukraine and Belarus with Russian officials. So I don't know what's going to come to this. There wasn't much reporting on this at all. This is very new news.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's good. Hopefully
Facts.
there's a good resolution. I don't know what incentive Russia would have to go to peace talks after 4 days. Like, they'd get clowned on forever. A war that lasted 5 days, bro.
No, or that lasted 5 days and they got shit on by civilians.
Yeah.
Like,
come on,
what?
man. Like,
that's an embarrassment on the world stage.
Yeah, which makes me think that Putin would not would not even consider doing that.
I don't think so, especially considering he's just threatening other nations.
Yeah,
he's just threatening everybody. He's acting fucking unhinged.
Threatening Sweden and Finland with invasion. Like, Finland, I don't know where Sweden is, but I know Finland's right next to Russia too. Geographically, I mean. But like,
yeah,
I don't know what incentive Russia really has to bend right now, unless they're really just getting dogged on. Like, they're the one that instigated the violence. Like, why would they want peace talk?
Unless they're getting dogged on even more than like we think they're getting dogged on. It
feels weird to like invade a country, then 4 days later say, yeah, we're interested in peace talks. Like, you're the one who caused the unpeace. You know, you caused the unrest here.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean you're open to peace talks? Like, you caused the fucking problem. I would imagine like the demands on Russia's side are going to just be extraordinarily high on Ukraine. But like, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens.
Maybe Russia's scared because now he has been personally sanctioned. Him and like members of the Russian government have been personally sanctioned. The EU froze Putin's assets.
Yeah.
They've done a bunch of stuff. Russia just got kicked out of SWIFT, or at least major Russian banks have just been kicked out of SWIFT.
Yeah.
Which is an international, like, fucking banking thing that allows transactions to happen because money's fake, you know?
Yeah, money's not real.
You know, so.
Well, I mean, we can even get into, like, the Western response. So, like you said, the U.S. has imposed heavy, heavy sanctions. The Russian economy is just in the toilet right now.
In the absolute shitter.
Like, it is beyond repair right now unless these sanctions lift, which is the goal.
The Russian dollar is worth less than Robux.
Yeah, Robux.
Robux.
Buy into Robux. Do not buy into the Russian dollar.
Facts.
Do not transfer your currency. I bet you could go over there and buy a lot of stuff, though.
Oh, facts.
Get a lot of Russian rubles if you wanted to. But yeah, the Russian economy is struggling a lot right now. Like Gage said, they were kicked out of SWIFT, which is like the intermediary for banks around the world. Very important to be connected to if you're in Europe.
If you want to do any international dealings, you pretty much have to be involved with SWIFT.
Yeah, and they were just kicked out of that. Then on Saturday, Biden released up to $350 million in security assistance to Ukraine. And important to note, because I've seen some people getting confused online, military troops from the U.S. are not in Ukraine.
No,
that would be a dramatic escalation of tensions. Biden has committed to not sending troops to Ukraine, which is good.
Which is a good thing. That's World
War. That's a World War.
Bro's been handling it.
That's a World War.
He's been handling this well.
Yeah, there are no military troops in Ukraine aside from Ukraine's own military and, of course, the Russian opposition.
Yeah.
But no Western nation, no NATO troops, no military troops from the U.S. are in Ukraine, and we do not want that.
No.
Because U.S. troops going into Ukraine is a world war. That's two major global superpowers.
I don't want to die in a nuclear winter. It's just about to be springtime. I'm not ready.
Yeah, and it's very, very important to know that because of how NATO is constructed, if fighting does spill over into NATO countries like Poland, which is right next to Ukraine, that the U.S. is legally obligated to come to Poland's defense, which is bad.
If fighting spills into any NATO country at all in any capacity, then every NATO country has to just legally go into war. Yeah,
that's Article 5 of NATO's treaty, is that if one is attacked, all are attacked, and all must defend. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen, which is also another reason why Russia never wanted Ukraine to join NATO, because they wouldn't be able to just openly attack Ukraine if that was the case. So keep that in mind. We don't want that.
Not at all.
You should be against that.
Yes.
But I think we should get on to some just completely unhinged takes now. I want to get into some stances from, not from necessarily U.S. leaders at the moment. I mean, people that are elected, some that are not elected, some political pundits.
We're elected.
But let's get into some of the bad takes, some of the bad stances on this issue. Starting off with previous candidate for president of the United States in 2020, Democratic Party, Tulsi Gabbard, no longer a representative in the House for Hawaii.
Thank God.
But her take is kind of insane. Let's insert the clip. Take a listen. You can take a listen.
Roll clip.
So I'm just trying to think, because I think it's a fair question as an American, what's in this for me and my neighbors and the rest of us? And all I'm getting is that we can feel morally satisfied because we hate Putin. Is there something that I'm missing?
No, I don't think you're missing anything. The reality is that these sanctions don't work, whether they were put in before or now or later. These sanctions don't work. What we do know is that they will increase suffering and hardship for the American people. And this is the whole problem with the Biden administration. They are so focused on how do we punish Putin that they don't care and are not focused on what is actually in the best interests of the American people. So when Biden stands there and looks directly into the camera and says, defending freedom will cost us, what he really should be saying is looking directly into the American people's eyes and saying, this will cost you, because these sanctions are not going to cost him or Kamala Harris or the power elite in this country, even the power elite in Russia. It is the people who will suffer, the American people, the Russian people, people here at home working hard every single day, facing those drastically increasing prices at the gas pump, facing increasing costs at the supermarket, impacting our supply chain. The hardships that people are dealing with every day now, with Biden's sanctions plan, we're only going to see that continuing to get worse. And it doesn't end there, Tucker. This is the problem, is you think Russia's not going to respond? You think Putin's not going to respond? He will respond. And it's likely he'll retaliate using cyber attacks on our financial systems, our communication systems, on our basic infrastructure. Biden will then be forced to respond. Putin will then be forced to respond. So we end up in this endless tit for tat that leads us where? To this looming threat and likelihood of this thing going nuclear. And again, this is the reality that we all need to understand is true, is that whether it is intentional or unintentional, when you have two great nuclear armed countries at this point of escalation, and then if there is a nuclear attack, the power elite, these people are going to go hide in their bunkers. They'll have their shelter. They'll have their food and water and everything that they need. You and I and the American people, we will be left out to deal with the consequences, to suffer and deal with that destruction and death that will come as a result.
So after you've listened to that, first of all,
what do you think?
Agreeing with Tucker Carlson?
Crazy.
Psychotic.
She's a Democrat?
A Democrat?
A Democrat?
With Tucker Carlson. She basically said that sanctions on Russia are not going to hurt Russia. They're not going to hurt Putin. They're going to hurt Russians and Americans.
Yeah.
Which is like, first of all, That's how war works. Poor people, the working class, are always killing each other for rich men. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've, been alive.
I don't know if you've ever picked up a textbook. Maybe your obsession with defunding schools has really just hurt your mental capacity to understand history.
But Gage, gas prices are going to go up.
Oh no. Oh no,
Gas prices are gonna go up.
maybe that should just be a warning and a signal for us to, maybe curb our over-reliance on an archaic resource from
Yeah.
another country that we historically don't really like and move into clean energy.
Oh no, gas prices are going to go up. That justifies not helping people that are going to die to a military superpower.
Oh no, gas prices are going to go up. Let's let this country invade another sovereign nation.
Yeah.
Let's let this
exactly.
country just literally bully another nation.
And then she says, like, well, Putin's definitely going to respond. And it's like, that's not reason to not act. Like, Putin is a psychopath.
And it's like,
he's going to, of course he's going to respond.
the sanctions are there to disincentivize Putin from responding.
Mhm.
Clearly, he is just fucking unhinged.
Like, if she was alive during the 1930s, her take on Hitler would literally be, well, if we attack him in any way, he's going to respond.
Yeah.
Like, if we try
Yeah.
to stop him, he's going to, like, attack our nation. Surprise, surprise, he did it anyway.
And it's
He
like,
did it anyway.
And it's like, I mean, if you want to say that's a stretch, Putin in a speech, I can't remember when, I want to say it was either Wednesday or Tuesday, literally used the blood and soil, the fucking Hitler argument.
Yeah.
He literally said there are ethnic Russians in Donbass that we need to protect. We have a right to the area.
Yes.
It's like when, didn't Nazis like say, oh, we found ancient German coins in Austria, therefore we have ancestral claim to this land,
Well,
so
yeah,
it's ours now.
They just made up any excuse they could
Yeah.
to just invade a sovereign nation. And surprise, surprise, when Hitler invaded Austria, Czechoslovakia, no one came to their defense.
Yeah.
Because we didn't learn our lesson during World War I. And apparently Tulsi Gabbard didn't learn her lesson after World War II.
Uh-huh.
Like, you have to understand. And, like, I don't like to draw comparisons to Hitler because so many people do it.
And it's corny, it's
overused.
lame.
Exactly. But the best comparison here is truly just an authoritarian is invading another nation, and you should be against people being invaded because it's a sovereign nation and
Yes.
democracy is important. Even though I know Ukraine has gone through a lot of corruption, they've struggled to maintain their democracy. They used to be a state within the USSR,
Mhm.
but at the very least, they are not, like, they're trying, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they're working towards
Yeah.
building a more stable democracy. And even if they weren't, they don't deserve to be invaded.
Their civilians should not be subjected to fucking death and destruction because of the hands of a fucking baby in charge of Russia, in charge of a nuclear superpower.
If you are against the U.S. being involved in Afghanistan and Iraq, then you should be against the Russian military being involved in Ukraine in any capacity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly, dude.
That's it.
That shit needs to get rammed in the heads. There's so many fucking people on Twitter. I cannot understate the amount of bad fucking takes I've seen on Twitter. Just It's literally motherfuckers with a hate boner for the US, which understandable.
Yeah.
Very bad foreign policy over here.
Mm-hmm.
It just so happens that in this instance it's not our fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not.
Like, we have failed so hard as a nation. If we have to explain why a country getting invaded overseas and children and families being torn apart and people dying overseas is bad, like, have we lost all basic compassion for human beings? Like, these borders that we draw between countries aren't real. They are still human beings in Ukraine, and we have to explain why people dying to a power that is much greater than them is a bad thing. Like, it's fucking psychotic that we can't even just understand as a nation that people dying in another country is bad.
Actual massive fucking hit for the credibility of almost everybody on the online left. It has been fucking insane. It has been so frustrating to see these motherfuckers essentially agreeing with Nazis like Nick Fuentes in their praise of Putin and their defense of Russia. What the fuck?
Yeah, and a lot on the left haven't even been explicitly saying, like, Putin's a good person. They've just been saying, like, well, we shouldn't be involved. Like, we should let them do whatever they want, which is the same thing as just letting people die in Ukraine.
It's the people, it's the anti-war people. And it's like, I say anti-war, like, quote, anti-war people, because I'm going to get into a critique that falls in line with the paradox of tolerance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Motherfuckers will be anti-war as an excuse to just not do anything about any atrocities anywhere. It's kind of like when the right says so much for the tolerant left. No, you can't tolerate intolerance. If you're a fucking pacifist, you have to be prepared to go to war to protect that peace. You can't just let nations stomp over other nations. It's ridiculous. Dude.
You know,
it's elementary thought.
That is exactly it. For there to be peace, this war has to end and Russians have to die. Like, the invading nation has to be stopped by any means necessary.
It's ridiculous.
For peace to occur, they they cannot be allowed to do this.
Uh-huh.
And you can't just be like, well, I'm anti-war, so the U.S. shouldn't get involved in any capacity and should just let Ukrainians be slaughtered with no assistance from the rest of the world. No. If you want peace, you have to stop powers like Russia.
Yeah.
You have to stop authoritarians like Putin from doing whatever they want to do.
So fucking disconnected from reality. That is not how these things work. These things are so incredibly fucking nuanced.
Yes. Yeah. Getting on to another take, though. We don't have a clip for this one, but Eric Swalwell. I don't even think we need a clip. What he basically said was, he was against what Putin is doing. We need to stop. We need to place sanctions on them, etc. But then he had an insane take.
Mm-hmm.
He said that we should think about kicking all Russian students out of American universities and sending them back to Russia.
Dog, it's just like that one lady that we talked about a couple weeks ago who said
Jean
we need to
Wu and
Jean Wu and the
Shelley Luther, I think. Shelley Luther.
some shit like that. She said we need to get all the Chinese students out of here.
Enemy of the people.
Enemy of the people.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to raise the future generation of communists or some shit.
Uh-huh.
Fucking ridiculous. Imagine punishing people that are literally just trying to get away from Russia and sending them back to Russia. It's so fucking xenophobic and stupid. It's literally like it's adjacent to the internment camps, the Japanese internment camps in World War II. Like, this is the type of rhetoric. These are the type of ideas that lead to shit like that. I saw this one thing on Twitter. A Russian restaurant in, I want to say, New York was just like fucking just attacked. Like, people just broke all the windows, ripped the Russian flag down. Dog, they have nothing to do with this. You're literally dumb. You're literally just a hateful piece of shit. Like, America has been so good at that throughout history, just attacking random fucking civilians because they vaguely look like somebody that the State Department has decided to hate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Happened with Japanese people in World War II. Happened with fucking Muslims throughout the whole of the 20th century. Happened with Asian people in COVID. Now it's happening with Russians. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. There's no reason to hate on the Russian people, especially because we know Russia is not a democracy.
Yeah.
No citizen in Russia voted for this to happen.
Yeah.
Like, citizens in Russia, when they vote, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't do anything because, again, not a democracy. So punishing students that are here in America trying to get an education for whatever reason, even if they are loyal to Russia, there's no reason to kick them out because they're kids.
Yeah.
They're students. Just getting an education, probably helping the American economy by spending money in our country.
They are spending a shit ton of fucking money, dog. And just like, shout out my TA for biochem last semester. She was Russian. She was a dog. Her review session's literally the most helpful thing. She's got nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Don't kick her out of grad school.
Like, this is precisely how you build animosity towards your nation.
Yeah.
Is you punish people for the crimes that their leaders are committing, leaders that they had no hand in choosing. This is how you build animosity towards a country like the United States. This is how you get populations to hate the United States, because we punish people, we hurt people for choices that they didn't make, for destruction and just like terrible onslaughts that they had absolutely nothing to do with.
And you're just building a hateful population, a hateful xenophobic population. It's fucking ridiculous, dude. So angry this week,
like,
you know?
We talked, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, about how we create the terrorists in the Middle East.
Yeah.
When Joe Biden issued that assassination of some ISIS leader or whatever it was. This is exactly how you build animosity towards your nation.
Yep.
This is how you build terrorists that hate the United States. Why do you think so many people in the Middle East hate America?
Yeah.
It's because we've ravaged their land for the last 20 plus years.
We've punished,
and had our way with it.
We've punished them for things that a couple extremists in their population have done. We've punished
less than 1% of their
collective punishment. It's fucking ridiculous.
We cannot punish Russian people for the decisions that Putin and his cronies are making. Like, it's not their fault. They should not be punished. They have no role in it. And from what I can tell, a lot of Russians are just anti-war. They're anti-invading Ukraine. They don't want this. So
for sure,
don't punish.
They don't want their fucking
Ukrainians.
kids who have been conscripted in the military to go die in Ukraine. War fucking sucks. Like,
yeah. You should not think that. Don't agree with this fool, Eric Swalwell.
Exactly. There's no reason for war in the modern age in general.
Exactly. Moving on to Donald Trump.
Okay.
One of our favorites, friend of the pod. He had a number of things to say. So before the invasion began, like the day before, 2 days before, he was on some talk show. I don't think it was Fox. He was on some talk show, and he was praising Putin's idea, saying it was genius to declare the Donbas region an independent state. He was saying that running peacekeeping missions was a genius idea. Great. He called Putin a genius. He was praising him.
He said that we should do that on our southern border, whatever the fuck that means. Like, dog, do you want to invade
my
Mexico
God.
or some shit? Like,
The number of takes I've seen from the right that's like, yeah, Putin's just defending his border and we should be doing that too is just psychotic. First of all, there's no problem at our border, big man.
no.
And any problem that is at our border is of our own causing.
Yeah.
Because we have ravaged countries
Yeah.
in Latin America, like Haiti. Like when we had that refugee crisis over the summer.
Uh-huh.
Like it's because we have destroyed countries and forced them into abject poverty, and then they want to flee to the United States because we have sucked all of their economic worth up to our nation.
We've sucked all their economic worth, and American PR has just somehow just been monstrous since its conception with the American dream, and they think that they can have a better life over here, only to be subject to a bunch of hate and fucking intolerance.
Only to work for like $3 an hour,
Exactly.
in Texas somewhere, and not be able to
Goddamn,
advocate
bro.
for better wages because you'll be deported if you do. Like, there's no crisis at our border, but Trump was basically praising Putin for defending his own border and saying like, he's really great. What a great idea to just decide
Yeah.
that this territory is yours.
Nick Fuentes at the America First Political Action Conference just fucking literally just praised Putin.
Yeah.
He was doing his speech,
Clap
shout
it
out
up.
Putin.
Clap it up for Putin.
And then they started chanting Putin. He said something about like how white Americans are white American men are America's like secret ingredient.
I absolutely love how like the ugliest motherfuckers are the ones saying like the white people are the superior race. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. He like shouted out China and Putin for their like ethnic hegemony. Like, dog, it's not like you think it is. Maybe Russia is like way more white, but Asia's a diverse continent, dog. There are a lot of different ethnicities within China. There are a lot of different people who like identify as different things as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah. Anyway, Donald Trump also went on, immediately made it about himself and said, this would not be happening if the election wasn't rigged, if I was still president.
That's another just insane fucking take I have seen from so many people on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
That's been like the main thing on the right. That's just been like that's had me baffled. It's just American exceptionalism.
Yeah.
It is American exceptionalism to center America in this entirely foreign conflict that we really don't have anything to do with aside from being a part of NATO.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. It's American exceptionalism to do that. It's so fucking stupid. And two, Trump clearly supports Putin.
Yeah. He's Putin's friend.
Bro is good friends with him. His fucking daughter, Ivanka, is best friends with Putin's girlfriend. Wild,
Let's
right?
not forget that Russian misinformation helped get Trump elected. Like,
let's not forget that Trump withheld military aid from Zelensky in order to get dirt on Joe Biden.
And they got
for
impeached
the upcoming,
for it.
like, got impeached for it. Withheld military aid, mind you, that was to aid them in their conflict in the Donbass region against insurgents funded by Russia.
Yeah.
Like, he's just helping his friend along the way. Trump literally would have just done nothing, or he would have just fully supported Russia. Send aid to Russia.
Yeah. And then, of course, the right has also brought up, like, well, what about Hunter Biden's dealings in Ukraine? It's like, I don't care.
I don't give a shit.
Care.
Yeah.
Nothing's on Hunter Biden's laptop. Like, I don't fucking care anymore. And then Trump was also on Laura Ingram's show.
Oh, no.
And they were talking about some dumb shit about Ukraine and Russia. I remember exactly what they were saying. But then he was like, the U.S. launched an amphibious attack on the Russians in Ukraine. Like, people shouldn't be hearing about that. People shouldn't hear about that from Fox News. That should be a secret.
What?
Why did the U.S. launch an amphibious attack? And it's like, first of all, they didn't. There was no amphibious attack. Second of all, it's hilarious that he would even think that it would, like, if it did happen, it'd be announced on Fox News.
Yeah.
Like, okay, how did he believe that happened? Like, he was previously the president of the United States, and he thinks that the military would have launched an amphibious attack.
Bro's overdosing on copium from his loss.
Bro's like
absolutely
out of his
lost
fucking
in the
mind.
sauce right now.
He's just out of his mind. That is just so funny to me that he thinks that the U.S. would launch any kind of attack against Russians in Ukraine. Like, the amount of stupidity and logical leaps you have to make to think that would ever happen right now is insane, especially considering he was the commander-in-chief at one point.
Literally a year ago.
Yeah.
Like, not long ago. He knew everything that was going on, all of our military dealings.
Yeah.
Ukraine
would have probably been nuked by us at this point.
I don't understand how motherfuckers think he's smart. I can't wrap my head around it. I don't understand how anybody could think that if Trump was president, this would have gone differently or better for the people of Ukraine.
I know. And then the last take I want to talk about here is probably the most out of pocket.
Oh, no.
And that's Tucker Carlson. Go ahead and take a listen. We'll roll the clip for y'all and, try to keep your ears intact.
Yeah.
Since the day that Donald Trump became president, Democrats in Washington have told you have a patriotic duty to hate Vladimir Putin. It's not a suggestion, it's a mandate. Anything less than hatred for Putin is treason. Many Americans have obeyed this directive. They now dutifully hate Vladimir Putin. Maybe you're one of them. Hating Putin has become the central purpose of America's foreign policy. It's the main thing that we talk about. Entire cable channels are now devoted to it. Very soon, that hatred of Vladimir Putin could bring the United States into a conflict in Eastern Europe. Before that happens, it might be worth asking yourself, since it is getting pretty serious, what is this really about? Why do I hate Putin so much? Has Putin ever called me a racist? Has he threatened to get me fired for disagreeing with him? Has he shipped every middle-class job in my town to Russia? Did he manufacture a worldwide pandemic that wrecked my business and kept me indoors for 2 years? Is he teaching my children to embrace racial discrimination? Is he making fentanyl? Is he trying to snuff out Christianity? Does he eat dogs? These are fair questions, and the answer to all of them is no. Vladimir Putin didn't do any of that.
Out of pocket, dog. Completely out of pocket.
Does he eat dogs?
Does he eat dogs?
Does he eat dogs?
Has he taught white people to hate themselves?
What does that mean? I don't, where did that even come from? Does he eat, what?
I wonder if that's racially motivated in any way.
I don't even get how it could be racially motivated. To be fair, I'm not like a fucking weeb for racism. I don't know about all the different dog whistles, but like, I wouldn't be surprised coming from Tucker.
Isn't it like a stereotype, like Asian people eat dogs, that kind of thing?
Is Russia considered like a part of Asia?
Well, I mean, it's in Asia, but I think he was just saying that because it's like, Asian people eat dogs and we don't have a problem with them. Like, is that what he's saying? Or is it that trope that's like Obama is Muslim and he ate dogs? Like, is that the trope?
No.
Does he eat dogs?
Does he eat dogs?
Did he ship jobs overseas? No, the GOP literally did that.
The GOP actively supports people like corporations shipping job overseas. They fucking stan harder than K-pop stans for Capital Flight, and then they get on their fucking late night shows and they're like, "Well, actually, this is a bad thing, and you should be mad at Democrats."
I love that Tucker Carlson's just running defense for
Russia. Dude, he's on like literally Russian payroll right there.
He's just running. No,
it's insane.
He was that clip was played on Russian state media. Like, that was played by Russians. Like, he's running defense for Russia. They support him.
The same Russian state media that was saying there's no invasion. It's not happening right now. Like, there's nothing going on. Don't worry about it.
That is just absolutely psychotic. That one of the most watched political pundits on a major news channel in the United States,
the most watched
political pundit on American news channel is just running defense for Russia, for fascists.
The fucking guy.
Freedom, though, right? I love freedom.
I love freedom.
I love freedom.
I love freedom. I love it when presidents aren't democratically elected. Wow.
Yeah, gotta absolutely love that. So before we move on to our second topic here today, off of Ukraine, I just want to, there's been a lot of people that have asked, like, why does defriending Ukraine matter? Like, as an American, someone who's struggling to make ends meet, why does it matter to me? And I think it's a couple of reasons. First, democracy is important just because it's a democracy.
Big facts.
Like, if you want to be free in the world, democracy is a requirement. You can't be free without having some kind of democratic input into what is happening in your country. And also, it's important to just protect against authoritarians. Like, you can't just let another country get invaded. You know what I mean?
Historically, whenever something like this has happened, and it's been allowed to happen, Austria and Germany, it's been a very bad thing.
Right.
It has started very bad things. It has been the pretext for insane historical atrocities.
And look, I understand the U.S. has a bad track record in this department, like spreading influence, being violent, destroying other countries. But that's even more reason to be against what Russia is doing now. You can't just allow fascists to spread their sphere of influence over whatever country they want unchecked.
To be logically consistent, you cannot be running defense for the Russians right now.
Exactly.
Oh my fucking
And it's
God.
also, it's generally important to aid in whatever way you can to spread or to creating a more auspicious political environment for the Ukrainian people, because it's important that they know that the rest of the world is backing them. Because I'm sure that has contributed to the high morale, the I don't know, just gratitude and support they're receiving from every other country in the world is very important when you're defending against one of the strongest countries in the world. And it's important to spread the awareness of these kinds of issues so that if it ever does happen that Russia's invading another nation, Russia trying to take more territory in the eastern part of Europe, we can push back against that as well.
Exactly.
You can't just let them spread their sphere of influence, like we said.
And it's like just points about the NATO thing and why the NATO thing is so complex. It's like, yeah, NATO started as an anti-Russia club, but Russia has given them every reason to continue to be anti-Russia club with these fucking actions. We don't think NATO should exist. Ideally, NATO should dissolve. And there should just be like a European Union army or some shit, and they can handle their own things. But that's not the world that we live in.
Yeah.
We live in a world where NATO exists. We live in a world where Article 5 exists. And we live in a world where Ukraine is being besieged by Russia right now.
Yeah, and we live in a world where the only real superpower in the world that can do anything to support Ukraine is the United States.
Exactly. Ukraine,
Like
not Ukraine.
Countries in Europe can definitely do something to support Ukraine, and they have. Like they've done it through like economic sanctions and stuff like that, and the U.S. has done that as well. But the only real country that can step in and stand up to Russia, like in a severe way, is the United States or China, and China's not going to really do anything.
China's low-key on like buddy with Russia.
There was a UN vote recently to condemn Russia's actions against Ukraine, and China stayed neutral. They abstained from the vote. Like China isn't really going to do anything to stop Russia here. I know they said like Russia should acknowledge Ukraine's sovereignty, but that doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't. It's
like just saying that doesn't really do anything.
If you stay neutral in times of atrocity, what does that really say about you? And it's like, let's just talk about America has been positioned through NATO by being like the world's #1 military superpower, by all the fucking imperialism we've done, the 900 foreign bases that we have. We have positioned ourselves in a way to where we have to act as the world's police.
Yeah, we don't have a choice.
Because everywhere else is just they don't hold a candle to our military. We have to act militarily, and that's the bad thing. It is bad that we are in a position that we have to do that, but that doesn't mean that we should just avoid all that responsibility sometimes when we actually can use it to do a good thing, like aid Ukraine in fighting off Russia.
Yeah, we can't abdicate that role now. We're in this position. You don't just get to opt out of it when things are getting hairy in another country. Like you have to do something. And also, just third point, what's the alternative? Like what's the alternative to supporting Ukraine and helping them out against Russian aggression? Just let Putin storm Ukraine and kill thousands of people.
Let him get whatever he wants.
Like I understand wholeheartedly the idea that you want to be removed from international affairs. Like you don't want the U.S. to be spending so much time and resources overseas when you're struggling at home. I get that. But what's the alternative? Like the wealthiest country in the world, the most powerful country in the world, the United States, doing absolutely nothing? Yeah. Doing nothing is endorsing his behavior.
And that's not the world we live in this moment. We have to use the resources that we have right now. We have to center our takes around how everything has been positioned geopolitically right now.
Yeah.
In the future, NATO should be dissolved. Europe should have its own shit going on. We should be a little more isolationist.
Yeah.
In the future, but we just fucking can't do that right now.
Yeah. And the last point, if you need no other reason to support Ukraine, suffering is bad.
War is bad.
Yeah. Suffering anywhere is bad. And oppression and the removal of your democratic rights or your just right to live is bad anywhere.
Very bad.
And like a threat or oppression for anybody anywhere is a threat to everyone everywhere. Like you need to keep that in mind. So if you need no other reason, or if you only need one reason to support Ukraine, just know that you don't want people to die.
Not at all.
Simple as that.
Very bad.
They're human beings. They don't deserve to be invaded. They deserve to live.
War's not fun. War should really just be a relic of the past.
Yeah. So I think that sums it up on Russia and Ukraine. I'm sure a lot will unfold before this episode airs for the majority of people that will listen to it, but hopefully that catches you up to speed if you need it.
Exactly.
Hopefully that informs you well. Leave us a comment, if you have any questions, if you want to engage in some some dialectic, some dialogue.
Engagement, you know what I mean? Get our engagement up.
Exactly.
You know how it is.
Let us know what you think about this situation.
Exactly.
Leave a comment, leave a like, leave a review. Become a patron.
Shit.
Anyway, so now we got to move on to some more domestic policy.
Yeah, some more news that we can just fucking shit on.
Yeah, we gotta round out the day with, we talked about local politics, we talked about geopolitical issues, and now we got to talk about domestic issues.
We got to get in the middle. We
Exactly.
got to get right in the middle. National politics,
Middle ground.
baby.
We are centrists.
Oh, let's go.
So let's talk about Rick Scott's 11-point plan to save America.
Okay.
So Republicans have started dropping their platforms for 2022. And Rick Scott, Senator Florida, used to be the governor of Florida before DeSantis, I think. He's not running again because his term isn't up until 24.
Okay.
But he has dropped his 11-point plan to save America. I imagine to help out the messaging around the country.
Just for fun.
Yeah. Because he's gonna save America, of course.
Just for shit.
And of course, 2022 is a very important time for Republicans as they are just historically advantaged to getting the House and the Senate back because of just how things shake out when you have a Democratic president. That's just how things work in American politics. So he's released his 11-point plan, and I want to go through step by step to figure out what this guy's all about.
I'm so excited.
And like I said, Rick Scott was elected in 2018. His buddy Marco Rubio's up for re-election in 2022, though. We're big Marco Rubio fans here.
Love Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, true empath, talking about how the Putin situation is bad.
So let's go through his plan, and he starts off with a little preface. Okay, I'm gonna read it to you all. He said, "This is exactly how it starts." First line: "The militant left now controls the entire federal government, news media, academia, Hollywood, and most corporate boardrooms. But they want more. They are redefining America and silencing their opponents. Among the things they plan to change or destroy are American history, patriotism, border security, the nuclear family, gender, traditional morality, capitalism, financial responsibility, opportunity, rugged individualism, Judeo-Christian values, dissent, free speech, colorblindness, law enforcement, religious liberty, parental involvement in public schools, and private ownership of firearms.
Did he really just say rugged individualism unironically?
Yeah, that's all you got out of that? That was a lot more than...
No, but isn't rugged individualism just strictly like a bad like term? Like it's a term to like shit on rugged individualism. You know, nobody says like I love rugged individualism. Like you use rugged individualism to describe like bad individualism.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's good for us if they're adopting that term. Like good for us optically because it's easier to run against that kind of thing. But yeah, that he just spit out a laundry list of things, and I think you'll throughout this document that we're gonna go through, you'll see that he really thinks the left controls the entire fucking globe.
The militant left?
The militant
what?
left.
What?
Yeah, bro. The Black Panthers are in charge of the federal
Guys,
government.
the militant left is what decided to finally leave Afghanistan. That was super militant.
I love how he's like, the militant left controls everything, yet the Democrats haven't passed a single fucking thing except for the American Rescue Plan and the bipartisan deal. Like, nothing else has happened. Student debt isn't canceled. We haven't taken really any action on climate change. Nothing is happening for, like, any of the issues that we actually care about. But the militant left is controlling everything and is going to destroy your values.
So it's going to destroy the nuclear family.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Bro, that's incredibly based. It's the most based thing Rick Scott has ever said. This is his manifesto.
Facts.
And also, I just want to know, like, that's some QAnon type shit. You know what I mean?
It's also QAnon shit, and it's just a talking point document. Like,
Yeah.
He hit every single one of the talking points.
Yeah. So let's go point by point. We got 11 points to get through right now.
right.
So number 1 is our kids will say the Pledge of Allegiance, salute the flag, learn that America is the greatest country, and choose a school that best fits them. That's number 1.
That
Off to a
started
banger.
off the document incredibly strong right here.
He says, quote, stop teaching the revisionist history of the radical left, which is rich.
Wow.
Blaming
Wow.
us for teaching revisionist history when they're the ones that don't want to teach MLK.
They're the ones that in Texas said you do not have to teach that the KKK is bad legally anymore.
You want to hear some dystopic shit, though?
Yes.
He said, quote, public schools will teach our children to love America because while it's not perfect, it's exceptional, it's good, and it's a beacon of freedom in a dark world. That is quite literally just, like, that's Big Brother George Orwell type shit right there.
And quite literally the opposite.
Yeah, yeah, he's just wrong. Like, I don't understand how you look at that and think, like, oh, yeah, this is normal.
I just love how he got on there and he said, our kids will say the Pledge of Allegiance every fucking day. The Pledge of Allegiance is not like a normal thing.
That's cult shit.
It's already like very weird that we did that. I stopped doing it senior year when I just started sitting down, and it felt weird seeing everybody else just stand up every day
In
at
unison.
fucking like 2:00 and I pledge allegiance to the flag. Shut the fuck
the
up.
entire unison in school, 3,000 kids pledging allegiance to a country that they just happen to be born into.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Like you just got lucky, mate, kinda.
That's like one of the fascist elements of America, low-key. Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like just in a complete, unequivocal admiration for your nation,
Straight
despite
fast
all the
shit.
flaws. Just fascist shit.
You will fucking say the Pledge of Allegiance and you will rise for the national anthem.
And then I got one for you. We were talking about this before the show started.
Oh, for real?
He said, we will close the Federal Department of Education.
Literally just private schools? Like
Yeah.
literally just I want private schools everywhere. I want nobody to be able to afford to go to school so that
Yeah.
they can just work in my factory.
He said that states can handle education, but he wants to abolish the DOE, which is like, dog. So no more student loans, no more help for local schools that can only stay open because they have funding from the federal government.
Yeah.
Nothing. You get absolutely nothing.
I
Come
love
on,
it.
dog.
I love it.
Then moving off of that,
Okay.
on to number 2. He says, and this is a doozy right here. He says, the government will never.
That was all point one?
That was point 1.
I don't think he knows how points work.
Well, that was number 1. It's just education.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Number 2, government will never ask again, or never again ask American citizens to disclose their race, ethnicity, or skin color on any government forms. And then he says, quote, no government policy will be based on race. People will, quote, not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. We are all made in the image of God. To judge a person on the color of their epidermis is immoral.
I saw this one take on TikTok that if MLK was could truly roll in his grave, he would have dug to the center of the earth by now. And I think that take right there would have just sent him all the way through the planet.
Just through the core of the planet.
What the fuck?
Don't know.
What the fuck?
I love how they can just evoke MLK's rhetoric and just get away with it.
Just for
completely.
fun.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Like the whole section, this one, like if you want a visual of how this document looked, it was like it would have that the section I just read, it'd be on its own page.
Yeah.
Just just a paragraph of words, and then he would have 12 points on each page describing what they're going to do to fix this. And this section was just entirely colorblind policies. That's it.
Wow.
And I want to note, we haven't talked about colorblind policies that much, but
I think we did a couple times when the pod first started.
But things like drug conviction laws, drug sentencing laws, poll taxes, none of those are ever explicitly colored.
Colorblind things are bad.
Yes.
Colorblind policies are very bad because they ignore the reasons that we got there in the first place.
Exactly.
You can't do that. Mm-hmm. You kind of have to work to correct historical grievances. You can't just fucking ignore them and allow them to go through.
Yeah, like literacy tests to vote, for example. Do not say anything about race. They don't say black people have to take literacy tests. They're just literacy tests. And those were outlawed because they disproportionately hurt black people because black people in this country have a harder time getting a more robust education for many reasons that we've talked about on this show. So if you're going to invoke literacy tests, it's going to disproportionately hurt a certain race, even though it's a colorblind policy. Yeah. So colorblind policies do not work if you're trying to fix racial disparities. And this dude just doesn't want to address any of that because
they quite literally just serve to exacerbate them in some cases too. Literacy tests, grandfather clauses. If your grandfather didn't vote, you can't vote. What the fuck? That is literally just absurd.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
That also is a colorblind policy, though.
Exactly.
It doesn't say any race. And to them, that's the solution.
And it's they've never read a fucking study. They've never seen a fucking study on anything because they would know that, okay, just filling out race. What about names? We know that people are discriminated on based on names. Yeah. There have been so many fucking studies done where researchers have sent resumes to the same company. And the only thing that's been different is the name. The name would be I don't know, fucking Andrew Brown. Versus, I don't know, a historically black or Asian name or Muslim name. And they've seen that the white people get more callbacks. Mm-hmm. It's literally just a thing. You can't ignore these things.
Yeah, exactly. Number 3, he said, we will enforce our laws, all of them, and increase penalties for theft and violent crime.
What?
We will clean up our cities and stop pretending that crime is okay. We have zero tolerance for mostly peaceful protests that attack police officers, loot businesses, and burn down our cities.
What cities? What cities got burnt down? We're going to put everybody in jail.
Minneapolis is gone.
Minneapolis, New York is gone.
Portland, Oregon, off the map. It's not there anymore. And this whole section, just no more soft on crime policies.
This whole section is we're going to put everybody in jail. You steal a loaf of bread, jail.
Particularly egregious, though,
okay.
is, quote, we will strengthen qualified immunity and legal protections for law enforcement officers to protect them from frivolous lawsuits.
Protect them from frivolous lawsuits?
Yes.
They're already fully protected from frivolous lawsuits. The way that qualified immunity works, if there is literally one minute detail that's different in a case, you are qualified and immune.
Uh-huh.
What the fuck?
And I wonder what his definition of frivolous lawsuit is. Derek Chauvin getting charged with murder for killing George Floyd, is that a frivolous lawsuit, Rick Scott?
No, I don't understand. Cops aren't even personally sued in this country.
Yeah.
They should be.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not. It's just a drain on the taxpayer whenever the cop fucks up.
Yeah. And then in his preface in the beginning, he also said that the murder rate has increased 30%. Which is true according to FBI statistics, apparently, for 2019 to 2020. But that's funny because Donald Trump was in office. And he's blaming this on Democrats and Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Dog, come on. And you can't even say, it's Democrat-run cities because this trend has been happening in Republican-run cities as well. It happens in cities because of how cities are constructed because there's a lot of people in cities.
Exactly. They're very dense. Often, poverty in cities.
Yeah, exactly. And then, all right, number 4.
Okay.
And this is some cornball behavior.
Oh, no.
He said, we're going to secure our border, finish building the wall, and name it after Donald Trump. That's the corniest shit of all time.
Simps, bruh.
They're simps.
They are literally just simps.
He said, quote, Nations have borders. We should give that a try. President Trump's plan to build the wall was right. We are a stronger nation because we're a nation of immigrants. But immigration without assimilation makes us weaker. That's absurd.
Without assimilation,
Yes.
I want everybody to just be white.
Yes.
Speaking of immigration, have you seen the talk? I'm gonna bring it back to Russia, Ukraine real quick.
Okay.
Have you seen everybody, like a bunch of people, like right wingers on Twitter, talking about how Joe Biden doesn't want to let white people in from Ukraine as refugees, but any brown person can just come on over.
They can't.
Exactly.
What does he talk? What?
No, that has been a huge fucking talking point that
my
I've
God.
seen. Is people saying, "Oh, Joe Biden just doesn't want to let white people in, huh? Because maybe they're not going to vote for you." It's less of a criticism on Joe Biden for not doing anything about like any refugee things, which I'm sure Ukrainian refugees are going to be let over, like they literally were. And it ignores the refugee crisis that we have historically had throughout, the whole 20th century. And it's also just a massive self-report because they're saying that they just want white immigrants.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. They're saying that they don't want brown people to come in and they just want the white Ukrainians to be there. Anyway, I digress.
I think Rick Scott would agree with you, agree with that sentiment because he says, quote, immigrants will not be eligible to collect unemployment benefits or any welfare for the first 7 years after arriving in the United States.
They're already like pretty much not.
Yeah.
Though. I'm pretty sure you can't until you get a social security card.
And also, getting citizenship, being naturalized,
7
is so
years.
incredibly difficult already that 7 years could turn into 10, 15, 20, like just because it takes so long to get into citizenship to begin with.
Doesn't it already take 7 years to get citizenship?
It takes a very long time, yeah.
You have to live here and be a second-class citizen for 7 years before you can get recognized for anything.
Yeah, he said we're stronger because we're a country of immigrants, but also we're going to make it incredibly hard for you to immigrate over here. And also, if you actually do get through that process, you have to abandon all of your previously held beliefs and cultural traditions.
Exactly.
If you want to be in America.
This is America. We speak American here.
Yeah, exactly. And then he also said, quote, we will stop incentivizing people to come to America to receive government benefits. We have plenty of welfare recipients. We need productive citizens instead.
They are literally the most productive ones.
Yes. I fucking hate this guy because like people that are on welfare work incredibly hard. The problem is they can't get out of poverty because our welfare systems aren't good enough.
They're
and
dog
our
shit.
jobs don't pay people enough and living costs too much because we allow our people to be exploited by massive corporations all the time.
Maybe you should take it up with the people who fucking own Walmart to get Walmart to raise their wages and stop telling their employees when they hire them to also apply for food stamps. Maybe we should stop subsidizing Walmart's slave wages.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just a thought.
Also, American workers, or just America in general, is the most productive country in the world.
GDP through the fucking roof.
Yeah, we're the most productive country in the world. Like, we produce so much throughout the year. The annual GDP rates are just astronomical. And those that are working the hardest to produce, Rick Scott's just like, yeah, fuck y'all. I don't care.
Fuck y'all. I literally do not give a
You're
shit
a welfare
about you.
queen. I don't care if you're working 3 jobs trying to make ends meet and you just happen to use food stamps.
Florida is a fucking hellhole.
Yeah. Florida's the absolute worst.
Wow.
Number 5, stop socialism. And quote, get rid of the old, slow, closed, top-down, government-run everything system that we have today.
What?
Yeah.
What?
He said he wants to get rid of big government. He wants the government to stop running our lives because that's socialism.
I want to get rid of big government, but when a Florida school has a mask mandate, a local school board, the most local form of politics, decides to have a mask mandate, I love it when Florida comes in and just withdraws funding from all of them because big government is only big when it's bigger than me.
Then he said, quote, socialism will be treated as a foreign combatant. What does that mean?
What?
I don't know what that means. Socialism's a foreign combatant, bro.
They're gonna intercept they're gonna block the pod in Florida.
Socialism's a foreign combatant as opposed to what they've treated it as before, which is apparently something less than a foreign combatant.
Socialism is a foreign combatant as opposed to Putin.
Yeah, exactly. Then he says, quote, all Americans, this is the doozy, this is what's been reported on the most.
Okay.
All Americans should pay some income tax to have skin in the game, even if it's a small amount. Currently, over half of Americans pay no income tax. Bro really said...
That's a lie.
Bro really said, I'm raising taxes on working class Americans.
And
he said, I'm raising taxes on the poorest Americans. The GOP are running on a platform of raising taxes. And here I thought taxation was theft.
Yeah.
Here I thought that socialism was when the government took stuff from you.
Here-
But bro just wants to raise taxes on the people that are producing the most in our country, that are the reason this country can function, that are the reason this country has so much money to begin with.
Their whole fucking reason for not voting for the Build Back Better bill was because it was they lied about it raising taxes on the middle class.
Yeah.
And Rick Scott said, no, it's a good thing when I do it, though, because poor people don't pay enough in taxes. Poor people don't have a high enough tax burden.
I love how he phrases it as having skin in the game, as opposed to taxing billionaires more, who have, to him, the most skin in the game, but aren't offering really anything in taxes because they're able to dodge them so easily.
As opposed to taxing corporations who have even more skin in the game. Because they literally rely on all these public institutions. They rely on the fucking roads to be able to do any of their
police
business.
Force to
protect their
assets.
private property.
Exactly.
And they pay zero income taxes. Are you sure you're talking about regular Americans and not corporations? Because to pay $0 in federal income tax, you have to make less than $6,000 a year.
Yeah. Maybe he should question why there may be some Americans paying no income tax, rather than forcing them to pay income tax regardless of how much they make.
It turns out bro just forgot to count all the children. That estimation.
Facts.
What the fuck is he talking about?
And then he says, same section, he says, quote, no government assistance unless you are disabled or aggressively seeking work. If you can work but refuse to work, you cannot live off the hard work and sweat of your fellow Americans. Unless, of course, you're a billionaire. Then you don't have to work at all.
Then
you literally don't have to do any
then
kind of work.
You can abuse the sweat of hardworking Americans.
And you're expected to. In fact, we will praise you if you do it.
Exactly, and I'll let you do capital flight.
And if you're rich, you can just go God mode. Like, you can do literally anything you want. It's a playground. You can do anything.
Dude, what does aggressively seeking work mean?
I don't know. Probably some standard that no one will ever be able to reach.
Please give me a fucking job right now.
No, it's just like some standard no one will ever be able to reach, so that they can just deny people unemployment.
Are you
benefits.
applying for 3 jobs in a week?
Are you applying for 30 jobs in a week? Are you literally calling and checking places, every single place in your local area, if they're offering positions? Are you not selling yourself for $3 an hour?
Literally.
Like, that's what you should be doing.
Imagine just not understanding the fucking labor market. Like, they love to talk about economics, do not understand the natural rate of unemployment and how we get there, how it's calculated, why fucking unemployment benefits are needed to help our natural rate of unemployment, to help people while they're seeking jobs, because we live in an economy that relies on hyper-specialization.
Yeah.
So we already see a lot of people working out of their degree fields. Maybe they're trying to find a job within their degree field, and that's what's taken a minute to, get a job.
Or what happens if there's like a global pandemic and a bunch of places close down, and a lot of workers that you would call essential and lazy are not able to work?
But what does he classify as disabled as well?
Oh, probably like you literally can't move at all.
You're only disabled if you're a combat vet and you lost limbs in combat serving your country.
Exactly. Number 6, he says, we will eliminate all federal programs that can be done locally and enact term limits for federal bureaucrats and Congress.
Okay.
He says specifically that it is exactly what it sounds like. He said he wants to limit congresspeople to 12 years total.
Okay.
And he also says that he wants to cut funding for the IRS by 50%.
Ooh, started off good there. Kind of took it down quite a few notches.
With the term limit thing, I feel like more effective would just be putting an age cap rather than a term limit. You know what I mean? So that, like, if you get so old, you just got to stop.
Yeah, because I feel like a bigger I'm not opposed to term limits. I would want both term limits and an age cap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The problem with term limits, though, is that it gives lobbyists a lot more power. Because if we're regularly having new blood come into Congress, then it's really easy for lobbyists to manipulate them. But at the same time, people that are in Congress now are pretty easily manipulated regardless.
Exactly.
So maybe I'm just talking some dumb shit, but like that's just my initial reaction.
Let's head in the office analysis real quick, you know?
But I would support capping it like 70, 75 years. I know that kick Bernie out, but like
capping it at 70 years? Cap that shit at fucking 65.
30.
Put me in there, then cap it at 30.
Yeah. 1 year above whatever age I am. That's the cap.
Thanks.
But yeah, then he said he wants to cut the IRS by 50%. So
Why?
basically, poor people are going to have skin in the game, but we're not going to be able to go after rich people.
We already can't.
Yeah,
we're going to be able to go after even less rich people, and we are going to be forced to go after more people, but be happy that you have skin in the game.
Yeah. Then he says, quote, we will force Congress to issue a report every year telling the public what they plan to do when Social Security and Medicare go bankrupt.
What?
Not even just like issuing a report on like how the programs are doing, but what they're going to do once they go bankrupt. This dude's so fucking lame.
This is so fucking absurd.
I know.
How do people take this guy seriously?
I don't know. What does he mean when Social Security and Medicare go? They don't have to go bankrupt. They don't have to
You know how you could stop him from going bankrupt?
tax rich people more.
Tax rich people? Allocate more funds.
Uh-huh.
Wild. Allocate some funds from the military.
Oh my god. Oh my god. He literally wants to he also said that he wants to forbid politicians from becoming lobbyists after they've been in Congress, which I actually support.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's got to be like a hidden agenda here. Like why would he
I don't know. Maybe he's just throwing like one. It's the foot in the door effect. You know,
Yeah.
he's just throwing one good take in there to get
Exactly.
people just to rally around him.
Uh-huh.
Like, hey, if he was right on this, he's got to be right on everything else.
It's
Maybe
just-
I should say the fucking Pledge of Allegiance every morning.
Yeah. It's just crazy because like Social Security and Medicare are two of the most popular programs in the United States.
Oh yeah.
Like lots and lots of support behind these programs.
And it's lots of support behind these programs for his constituency too.
Yeah, old
it's
people.
mostly old people.
Exactly.
Like, they're not gonna vote to get rid of those programs.
Number 7, he said, "We will protect the integrity of American democracy and stop left-wing efforts to rig elections."
The irony.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
fucking irony.
He took
dog.
our take.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
take.
Wait a minute.
He says, quote, "They don't believe they can win based on their ideas, so they want to game the system and legalize voter fraud to stay in power." Except this is quite literally what the GOP did in 2020.
Yeah, and except if it's legal, it's not fraud.
Mm-hmm.
So,
He goes on and he says that he wants to like fight for maximum voter participation, but then he lists all of the ways he's going to make it harder to vote.
I want to fight for maximum voter participation, but if you don't have an ID, you can't vote.
Yep, that was
if you're
one of them.
standing in line too long, you can't get water bottles. If you're just fucking black, you can't vote. If you're any minority, you can't vote. If you have a vagina, you can't vote. If you maybe look like you have a vagina, you can't vote.
Mm-hmm.
If you're less than 65, you can't vote.
If you're not a property owner,
If
you can't
if
vote.
you don't own property, if your net worth is less than $400,000, you can't vote. What else?
Exactly. And he listed like voter ID. We're going to implement like national voter ID laws. He said that he's going to eliminate automatic and same day voter registration.
Why?
There's literally no
Fucking
reason to do that.
why?
Then he said, quote, "Democrats support requiring an ID to get a COVID test, vaccine card, and enter a restaurant. All arguments against voter ID are in favor of fraud."
No.
Yeah, no.
Just strictly no. Immediately no.
First of all, voter fraud rarely happens in the United States. It is
Yeah.
such a negligible number that it does not matter. And 2020 was one of the safest elections we had. Second of all, vaccines are free, and going to a restaurant is not a constitutional right.
Facts.
Voting is a democratic right, and getting a voter ID costs time and money, which makes it disproportionately harder for poorer Americans to get IDs, which, of course, because, intersectionality and all that, makes it harder for black Americans to get voter IDs, which means black people would be stopped from voting. That's it.
I fucking.
That's it.
What a guy. What a
Yeah.
guy. Nowhere in here is, a part of increasing getting maximum voter turnout is
nothing.
making, election day a holiday or something. Like that would actually increase turnout.
Or making absentee
Crazy
voting
thought.
or making absentee voting easier, or making there be more ballot drop boxes, which is something his party's actually done the opposite of, taking away ballot drop boxes.
No, but literally,
In
crazy
Atlanta,
thing
they
how,
took away like 50 drop boxes for the upcoming 2022 elections.
Crazy thing how when we saw historic voter turnout, it was when we had these things. And he's like, yeah, I want historic voter turnout, but not really. I just want the optics of it all.
I want only people to have the time, money, and mental capacity to be able to go and vote. I only want white rich people to go and vote.
What a fucking idiot,
I hate
dude.
Number 8. Let's get into some of the actual putrid ones. Number 8. Let's get into, this is like, now we're getting into the bad ones.
We're
That was
getting
preface.
we're getting to the meat and potatoes right here. Okay.
No, he says number 8, "We will protect, defend, and promote the American family at all costs." He says, quote, "The nuclear family is crucial to civilization. It's God's design for humanity, and it must be protected and celebrated. To say otherwise is to deny science."
I love protecting families by locking black fathers up for having a fucking gram on them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But the phrase "to say otherwise is to deny science" is going to be invoked a couple of times before we get over with this. Just know he likes that phrase, and he specifically likes to use the science phrase right after he's invoked God, which is very interesting to me.
Oh, wow.
Just some theological science.
Exactly. He's like, yeah, intelligent design is very base.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then he said, quote, "We will help low-income single women who are considering abortion choose life instead by paying all costs associated with carrying a child to term and placing the child for adoption."
No, they're not.
Well, yeah, they won't do that. But also, I was surprised because this is actually a policy that would decrease abortion rates.
Yeah.
If women could have access to the resources they needed to go to term for the child, that would make it as easy as possible. This is a policy that would reduce abortion rates. But that's not acceptable as a policy on its own, because you can't do that and limit all other options, because then you are still forcing a woman to go to term.
No, yes, you absolutely that is a good policy implemented alongside just letting them choose to just fucking get an abortion
alongside making all other options available.
Exactly.
That is what it has to come along with. Like women would not consider abortion so often, low-income women at least wouldn't consider abortion so often if the process of giving birth would be made easier, more financially viable, etc. But that can't be the only option. Like, you can't take away all their options and expect them to do that, because that's still forcing the woman to go to term. That's still a violation of bodily autonomy.
I love the cognitive dissonance throughout this whole entire fucking thing. Like, simultaneously welfare queens, but also, yeah, we'll pay for you to bring a baby to term. Like, those are two diametrically opposed ideas. Like, you can't shit on welfare programs and propose a welfare program.
Yeah. Also, I feel like we've been saying this like ad nauseum, but maybe he should analyze the conditions that force low-income women to consider abortion in the first place. Perhaps rather than having a Band-Aid solution, which is paying for all the costs associated with going to term for low-income women, maybe you should analyze why low-income women are even considering abortion to begin with. Maybe lifting people out of poverty would reduce abortion rates. Maybe people had more financial stability in their life. They could actually go to term with a child rather than seeking an abortion. But no.
I don't know, Jeremy. That sounds like socialism. And because of that, I'm going to treat you as a foreign combatant.
Yeah, true. No, honestly, all of this, like, I feel like all of their stances on abortion are just rooted in the idea that they don't think women should be having sex. Like, that's it.
Facts.
Like people should not be having sex in their body.
No sex till marriage, but also no divorce. You're stuck with me. And if you're Dennis Prager, you have to fuck me whenever I want.
Yeah.
And also kids.
Yeah. And that's another thing, is that their mistresses and shit are still going to be getting abortions.
100%.
That happens like regularly.
They still do all the time.
And then he also says, as a part of this section, quote, "We must enforce existing federal obscenity laws. Our society has almost given up on demanding decency, and we must aim higher."
Fuck off.
Free speech, though.
Yeah.
Free speech, though.
We're the party of free speech and constitutional rights, but I don't want you to say fuck on TV. I don't want Head in the Office podcast to be able to say fuck.
I don't want nudity to like be implied in a movie or TV show or anything like that.
I don't want to ever see like a man's backside on TV.
Right. People aren't naked in real life. That does not happen.
Yeah.
Nobody should ever be exposed to it, regardless of the age, because we need to be a society of decency.
Obscenity laws are fucking stupid
Fuck
anyway.
your decency, bruh.
No, literally, obscenity laws are fucking stupid. I'm pretty sure, like, legislated in the Supreme Court is, like, the grounds are, I'll know it when I see it.
Yeah.
Like, that is the basis for obscenity laws. It's ridiculous. As if everyone has the same standard for obscenity.
Right. And also, the complete violation of free speech rights that the federal government would have to undertake to outlaw all obscenity is astronomical.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you would have to violate free speech in every single capacity for the federal government to just be able to decide what is obscene and what isn't. And he supports that. And I'm sure he also simultaneously supports free speech. As he says in this document, like, we're going to make the censorship and cancellation end.
Okay.
So I don't understand how he can censor some things but not others, I guess.
No. I want to enforce obscenity laws, but you can't cancel my obscene fucking opinions on minorities.
Yeah. I can be racist, but you
That's
can't say
not
fuck
obscene
on the internet.
because I'll know it when I see it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Number 9, and just be prepared for this one. Men are men, women are women, and unborn babies are babies. We believe in science. He says, quote, "Men and women are biologically different. Male and female, he, capital He, like God, created them. Modern technology has confirmed that abortion takes a life. Facts are facts. The earth is round. The sun is hot. There are 2 genders, and abortion stops a beating heart. To say otherwise is to deny science."
I love saying to say this is to deny science after I deny science.
Yeah, exactly. He says, quote, humans are born male and female. There are two genders. To deny that is to deny science. I love saying, like, I believe in science and then just being completely fucking wrong.
I love believing in science, but not.
Yeah. I'm surprised he even knows that the earth isn't flat. I'm surprised he even knows that the sun is hot. Like, at this point, he's just been wrong on everything that's the only thing he's been right on so far.
Dude, Jesus fucking Christ. It just literally baffles me that people cannot make the distinction between sex and gender. Like, you have literal people who have devoted their lives to academia just telling you this.
Yeah.
It's so easy for you to just, like, separate those two things in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Just sex is one thing. Gender's another thing. And it's funny because there's not only two sexes.
Yeah.
Like, there are more than two sexes anyway. There are more ways your chromosomes can be aligned. I'm sure it sounds unintuitive, but it is literally true.
Mm-hmm.
God
like,
damn.
The easiest way to combat this kind of talking point is just to say, like, well, there's intersex people, right? Like, your chromosomes can be more than just XX or XY, right?
Yeah.
And they have to say yes, because, like, that is fundamentally true. That, like, humans can be constructed in such a way that it's not just XX or XY. And then they have to concede that. Then you can say, well, okay, like, well, then what's a woman? Like, what constitute a woman? What constitute a male? There can be differences in how chromosomes are aligned, right? So then it's possible for someone to be born with the chromosomes of a male and identified as a woman. Like, it's so easy to comprehend, but their brains are so incredibly small that they can't just think for 1 second outside of the binary that has been set up for them. But free speech, though, free expression, though.
Oh, yeah, just the existence of intersex people completely breaks down their entire ideology because it's like, oh, okay, there are even more than two sexes.
Yeah.
There are more than just two chromosomal arrangements, yet we still people broadly socialize as male or female. It's like, wow, they just discovered that gender is a social construct.
Yeah. And then this section also includes stuff like no more trans women in women's sports.
Oh, okay.
No more gender-affirming treatments for children. And he says specifically, quote, no doctor will be allowed to perform irreversible surgical or gender-altering procedures on any minor child, which doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. Like, what happens is that children, if they feel, I don't know the exact procedure, but if they are identified as potentially being trans, they are given hormone blockers or things just like treatments that change their hormones, which can easily be reversed if things change. No child is given surgery to replace their organs.
At the very earliest.
Most adults that identify as trans don't even go through surgery.
Oh, yeah.
So, like,
and you don't have to. You don't have to be
exactly.
valid. You don't have to, like, I don't know, pass or whatever the term is. I'm sorry. I'm trying.
Yeah.
But you don't have to, like, pass or something to be valid in your transition. And it's like, even at the earliest, people who are transitioning female to male maybe might get a double mastectomy at 16 or 17 at the very fucking earliest. But who cares?
Yeah, nobody.
They can do what they want with their body. At 16, you're pretty, like, set in your gender identity.
And he does say somewhere in here, like, once you turn 18, you can do whatever you want, which is like, yeah, okay. But also, like, denying gender-affirming treatment for children kills people.
Yeah.
Like, that harms a child's mental health. And he's all about, like, oh, we're going to protect children. We're going to protect
We're all
their
about
mental
protecting
health.
the family.
Yeah, we're all about protecting the family,
Yeah.
exactly. But we're not going to let kids, feel comfortable in their own bodies or anything like that.
God damn.
Gotta love that. Then he goes on. Number 10. He says, Americans will be free to welcome God into all aspects of our lives, and we will stop all government efforts to deny our religious freedom and freedom of speech.
I love how he is just saying that he's stopping government efforts to deny religious freedom while simultaneously I'm assuming he's going to propose policies that deny religious freedom.
Well, he does say churches and faith-based groups will not be forced to hire employees who disagree with the tenets and their convictions, which just means you can discriminate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's legal. It just means that Walmart can now become a faith-based group.
And then he says, every American will be free to live out their religious convictions in the public sphere, not only in the home or place of worship. Unless, of course, you're Muslim.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, the fuck they cannot. Unless you're Muslim, unless you identify as a fucking Satanist.
Unless you're Muslim, which in that case, you will be hate crimed and we will justify the actions of the perpetrator.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do on the right.
Exactly.
Like, that's it.
Oh my fucking God. It's just Christianity. Only if you're Christian, though, because he says God. Like, you can't talk about religious freedom, but frame it in the context of just God and that being the Christian God.
He says several times throughout this, like, document thing that they're going to reinforce Judeo-Christian values. So it's like he's clearly only talking about
Just
Christian values.
Christianity, dog.
Yeah. He also says, quote, "We will stop investing federal retirement dollars into woke fund managers and companies that put left-wing politics ahead of profits."
Woke fund managers.
Woke fund managers.
It's funny. It's funny because these companies are hiring these woke fund managers and these people that put left-wing politics over profits because those left-wing politics they've measured are going to increase their profits because it's better for their PR.
Also, the narrative that the left runs corporations is quite literally antithetical to what the left is.
Yeah.
You can't be a leftist and run a corporation.
Like
if you're running a corporation, you are fundamentally not a leftist.
The actual left, not the
Yes.
neoliberal left.
Yes, of
Yeah.
course. Of course. Like, that's quite literally impossible. Like, it's an ideological contradiction. You can't do both. And like you said, the only time they're actually endorsing like left or liberal values is when they're chasing profits.
Oh yeah, it's only when those causes have become palatable as well.
Like, oh, sorry, I didn't realize that, Chevron is actually the vanguard of the revolution. I didn't realize that they were quite literally handing the means of production over to the workers.
Yeah,
and
no
chasing the left
facts.
values.
Like, I'm sorry, but corporations didn't start fucking pink washing and rainbow washing until like more feminist movements became more mainstream and pride became way more mainstream. Like, nobody was doing this shit before gay marriage was legalized.
And like Tesla's still segregated.
Facts.
Like, it's not as if every company is doing this. Like, another thing corporations do all the time is greenwashing, like adopting environmentally friendly policies that don't actually do anything for the environment. Like still using plastic cups, but saying like, well, these are biodegradable.
Oh
that
yeah,
kind of
like
thing.
great documentary, by the way. Just quick plug if you want to get into like figure out what's the deal with greenwashing. Seaspiracy on Netflix.
Yeah.
That shit is fire.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But like companies do this stuff. They hop on progressive movements all the time because they don't want to lose customers. Because they know that young people spend money like fiends.
Yeah.
And they want young people to buy from their corporations. And they know that young people today are a lot more conscious of where they spend their money, at least as conscious as they can be, than perhaps previous generations were. Like, a lot of young people may boycott you if you say some homophobic or anti-black, some racist shit.
You may get canceled. You may get cancel cultured.
Exactly. And they don't want to hurt their bottom line. So the only reason they're doing that is for profits, not left-wing ideals, big man.
It's almost like the system that you created and actively perpetuate is maybe sometimes working against you. Wow.
And speaking of corporations, there was a recent video of Rick Scott, the dude who wrote this, who was in a Starbucks.
Okay.
And he got fucking berated by some woman in there.
That's hard.
It was amazing.
Good shit.
It was so good. Like, I don't remember exactly what she was saying, but just like you shipped a bunch of jobs overseas, you cut healthcare off for like a bunch of Floridians and stuff. He was just getting berated by this woman. He had to leave. It was great.
That's praxis.
We need to normalize berating public officials.
Did he already order his coffee? She should have got us coffee.
I think he just walked in and left because he was just getting dogged out. What a coward. Debate me in a Starbucks.
Get Rick Scott on the pod right now.
Exactly. Last one, number 11. We are Americans, not globalists.
It's about to get real anti-Semitic, isn't it?
It's about to be some New World Order type shit.
No.
He says, quote, "America will be dependent on no other country." No is capitalized.
Okay.
He says, "We will conduct no trade that takes away American jobs or displaces American workers. Countries who oppose us at the UN will get zero financial help from us. We will be energy independent and build supply chains that never rely on our adversaries." Impossible. And we will only help countries that are willing to defend themselves, like Israel.
Oh yeah, Israel really defending itself with the Iron Dome that we funded.
Exactly.
Fucking crazy, right?
It's okay when white people defend themselves or people that look white defend themselves,
Yeah.
but if we invade another country and they defend themselves against our occupation, they're terrorists. Clearly. Usually because they're like a brown person,
Exactly.
Also, I just want to note the absurdity. You can't have independent supply chains.
No.
Like, are you gonna go to other nations and harvest the crop yourselves? Like, send American workers over? Like, you can't.
Like, dog, here's a crazy thought. Sometimes here in America, because of the location we are on the earth, crops are out of season.
Yeah.
And we need to ship them from other places, maybe. Unless you never want to have strawberries in the fucking wintertime.
Yeah.
I don't know about this one, Chief.
Bro, how are you gonna not rely on other countries' supply chains? Like, we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You live in a world. Like, there's other countries on Earth. You
Like,
can't
we live
just
in a globalized world. We can't isolate.
Yeah, you can't. Especially when it comes to trade. Like, there's nothing you can do. And also saying that you're gonna give zero financial help to any country that opposes you. Just saying basically that we're going to starve you. Or we are going to economically destroy you if you do anything against us.
Especially a very scary statement considering that the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, is backed by the US dollar.
Yeah.
wild. And just making a bank not be able to deal in the US dollar is absolutely devastating for any bank overseas.
And it allows us to just have a stranglehold on any country that we want through the IMF and World Bank.
11-point plan to save America. Step 11, economic imperialism.
Yeah.
Wow.
Except he says that we're not going to do that. Like, well, I mean, he basically is saying like, well, we're not gonna do anything for any other country. We're gonna do no trade deals that do not directly benefit America in every single capacity. Like, you're just gonna strangle grip every single country and force them to do what you want.
Allies?
Yeah,
huh?
No, fuck allies.
Fuck them.
He says here's some dystopia for you.
Okay.
Quote: Our military will not be used as a peacekeeping force. It exists to protect us by intimidating or killing our enemies.
What the fuck?
Which is like American. Military's never been a peacekeeping force, big man.
Yeah.
This is what we've always done. But also just saying it, kind of crazy.
Yeah, just mask off, going real mask off on this one.
Then he says, we will adhere to a new Monroe Doctrine. America will not allow any global enemy, such as China, Russia, or radical Islam, to grow their presence in our hemisphere. That's crazy.
But religious freedom.
Of course, yeah. Religious freedom, but only when you're white.
Our hemisphere, because we own the entire hemisphere.
Yeah, no, that's crazy saying like, because like imagine if any other country acted like this. We would take that as like aggression.
Oh yeah, we take it as a threat for sure.
But we can just do it.
Yeah, it's cool because it's cool when us, you know.
Bro's just advocating for isolationism, but also saying that we're going to crush any foreign nation that does anything to us ever. That ever wants to benefit from a deal that we're having. Wow. Playing field's equal, right? Free market and
it's
stuff.
All right. You know, we only have the, biggest GDP in the entire world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to round out this section, I just want to say that I really, really wish that the radical left was as powerful as he says it is.
Oh my God.
Because if we had as much power as he claims that we have, it'd be a wash.
I really wish there were as many anti-capitalists and socialists out there that he thinks there are.
Bro really says that Biden is leading the revolution, destroying the nuclear family, destroying borders. Like, if we had half the power that he says that we have, we'd be so
I wish Biden was doing all the things he said he was doing. I wish the border was open.
I know. Oh my goodness, dog. Anyway, that sums it up on Rick Scott's plan to raise taxes on working class Americans.
Exactly.
I hope you enjoyed that. I think it's exciting for me because it really shows us that we're getting into the era of candidates dropping their platforms, which I'm very excited for.
I hope you enjoyed that because there's going to be a lot of this.
Exactly.
There's going to be a lot of this in the coming months.
Point by point, conservative destroyed and liberal. We'll get to the liberals too. Don't even worry.
Oh yeah.
Our hands are bipartisan like that. That's right. Anyway, thank you for listening to this episode. Before we go, we got to give a special thanks. We've gotten some new patrons recently. We love y'all. We love the support. We can't do it without you.
Literally cannot
do it without you because, capitalism and stuff.
Especially, gas to get over here. Especially now these crazy, insane gas prices. Shout out Tulsi Gabbard.
Shout out Ukraine-Russia conflict.
Let's go.
Shout out sanctions on Russia. But anyway, before we go, gonna give a special thanks to our patrons, our loyal patrons. Gotta give a special thanks to Cricket Scrapbook Layouts, Nikki Nine Lives, Caden Kraut, Terrence Nicholson, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Thalia Katz, 40% Spite, Omar Zuno, Mike Chaplinsky, Mattias T, John G, The B Plot, Clayton Laforte, Ash Fairblood, and my mom. Thank you all for supporting the show on Patreon. We couldn't do it without you.
It's a lengthy list.
We're getting there.
Getting longer, too.
If you want to support the show on Patreon, get early access to videos, get a shout out at the end, check us out.
You know what to do.
Check us out. Check out the tiers. See if we can get something you like.
Exactly.
You can listen to the shows early. You won't have to worry about the disclaimers when we say more news may come out about this before the episode airs. You can just get it right away.
Facts.
But thank you for listening to the episode. Hope it wasn't too putrid. And
if you made it this far, don't forget to drop a 5-star review.
Exactly.
Because clearly you must like the content. You must love the content.
If you listen to I don't know, what are we at, an hour and a half? That's crazy.
Something like that. That's wild. Just us talking every single week, 500 people.
Us from Michigan to white dudes talking about geopolitics.
Kind of crazy. I was thinking this week, it was kind of crazy that I was like, I see a piece of news and I'm like, damn, I wonder if Chris the Postman is thinking, what are Gage and Jeremy's takes on this?
That's crazy.
That's wild.
That's crazy.
That's wild. Couldn't do it without you.
Waiting for our takes. Thank you for listening to the show.
Have a great week.